Drum roll. Okay, I believe we are live with Stephanie Hammond and Joe Ferla on this beautiful Monday, wherever you are tuning in from. Today, we're here to chat about a couple different topics that we'll get into about Empower and some boot camps on sales and marketing and different things. But maybe first we can kick off with a little bit of an introduction. Stephanie, why don't you go? And then Joe, I want to hear what you're up to at NAble and what life's all about for you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Stetson. Thank you for having me back. I really enjoyed our last couple of podcasts that we've done. But Stephanie Hammond, I am the head sales and marketing nerd at NAble. I've been in this role for, I think I'm starting my 5th year now, but I've been at NAble for 20. And prior to coming into the nerd role, I was in sales and I was in account management with the sales territory and targets. And so it's been lovely. I'm not going to say I miss sales, but it's lovely that I've been able to take, kind of all my sales success and kind of move it into this more of a teacher trainer consulting type of role. So it's nice to be back.
Awesome. How about you, Joe?
Yeah. So at NAble, life's still been pretty busy with working with Cloud Commander. Like Stephanie mentioned, we're doing the boot camp on it coming up. I believe it's February 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Then we've also been in the background working on some of our certification programs. That's been taking up a lot of time, and just running through the regularly scheduled Let's Be a Nerd program.
Yeah, right on. We'll get into it a little bit, but I am curious. Maybe you could give folks just intro to what Cloud Commander is. I'm not sure I've heard that name before.
Yeah, so what Cloud Commander is it's a multi-tenant M365 Intune, Azure, and Entra management tool. So dealing with the partner center, that if you're an MSP, you've dealt with having, like 100 clients in there, and it's just a pain because you're always logging in to different portals, whether you're dealing with an individual client and you have to log into 4 or multiple clients and you're logging into each of their portals. We just kind of make it easier to manage your users, easier to manage Intune resources and the like through a multi-tenant platform. The tool itself is reasonably new. We're about 18 months old now. So haven't been out on the market too long. And it's really good at what it does. And it's very, very quickly growing. Where we sit right now, and the part that me and Stephanie are focusing on in our boot camp is it is a great global and client level admin tool and viewer, right? I remember I was showing off the tool to Stephanie and she's sitting here looking at like risky user reports that show all of your clients' risky users, not just one client's, right? Multi-factor authentication statuses, licensing counts for all of your clients in a single page. And she's just like sitting here going, how have we not screamed this to the masses? How have I not seen this yet? Right. So then her enthusiasm there kind of led us down the rabbit hole of, all right, well, boot camp has to be made.
Well, because I know you've done a lot of boot camps, Joe, on kind of the technical aspects of Cloud Commander and how MSPs can leverage it. But I kind of wanted to take it from, well, how can MSPs leverage this tool, incorporate it into their business to build a better business and, operate more effectively, more efficiently, how to have better customer conversations. And so it was a really good collaboration that I enjoyed having with Joe. He's kind of telling me the technical capabilities of it. And I'm like, okay, well, can it do this from a customer conversation standpoint? Like, is it going to help, our MSPs, our partners, make money or uncover sales opportunity? He goes, well, yeah, if we talk about this. And so it was a really fun collaboration to work together on that.
Nice. I love that fusion, I was going to say, between the tech side and sales side, right?
Yeah, and it's
go ahead, Joe.
Definitely one I'm excited to give because I do back up Stephanie from time to time in her boot camps. But we've never had a chance to bring like my technical and operational efficiency into her sales and marketing. And it's been one of these points that I think we've both been like separately driving in our boot camps and in our day-to-day conversations with our partners and clientele is tech needs to speak with sales, sales needs to speak with tech. There has to be that alignment. And I think this is a great like jumping off point for us to kind of show that there is that value. There is, as tech is getting their hands on more data, or as sales and marketing is becoming more targeted or more technically savvy in what they're selling, you know, alignment between the two sides of the MSP are just an exceptional thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think everybody's doing that, but we will get into some of those events coming up. Of course, folks can go to in-able.com/events and see some of the upcoming free boot camps. I'm just scrolling through. I see a few with your face on here, Joe. Office hours, cloud and tools, reports and insights, some mastering automation and things to automate. So very exciting, but I think we should get into kind of one of our main topics here is this event happening in Power Berlin from April, is it 7th to 9th in, I'm guessing that's Berlin, Germany. What is this all about? What is Empower? Why should people check this thing out?
Who wants to go first, Joe?
Sure.
Goes, maybe.
So Empower is NAble's conference, of course. It's our yearly event that we have where we kind of throw the big shindig for our partners or for whoever else would like to join. And it lives in this unique space for me in the conference world, not only because it's NAble's conference, and you know I love that NAble's throwing it, but also because it's a conference, at least from my perspective, from what I've seen, that is less pitchy and less pushy and less salesy. It's very much more geared towards MSPs come take 3 days or 4 days, depending on whether or not you do a PreDay event. We'll get into that with Stephanie and myself in a minute, but come and just learn about the market, meet your peers, see what successful MSPs are doing, see what successful industry leaders are doing. You know, the breakout sessions we have aren't like, okay, here's a vendor, listen to them. It's automation and AI and what's being done in the market, right? A peer panel with automation and AI. You get all of Stephanie's just incredible sales and marketing conversations, right? Where I think, you know, she pretty much has her own main stage, which is just awesome to see because you never see anybody come out of one of her presentations and goes like, I knew all of that to begin with. It's always, oh my God, I learned so much new stuff. Then you'll see folks either from within the NAble family of partners or just outside of that family, where we have peer-led panel discussions. Like one of the ones I'll be leading, I mentioned, is AI and how MSPs are utilizing it. Right? What are the fears? What are the positives of using AI? How are you using it, and the like? You know, so you'll see all the nerds there, and then you'll see a number of guest speakers. So it's quite a fun event where you see folks come and collaborate more than almost any other event you see over the year.
Yeah, and I think it's that peer collaboration and that education is really the hallmarks of our Empower events. We've been doing these, oh gosh, when was our first one? We didn't really call it back, but like 2005, I remember going to kind of our first partner conference. And so to kind of see it really evolve over the years, you know, last year we were in Texas. This year we're in Berlin. So we're kind of going back and forth between North America and EMEA. But we have people from South Africa coming. We have people from New Zealand and Australia coming. I think like a good third are from North America. So it is being held in Berlin, but it is almost still like a big global partner conference because of, you know, all the different partners from around the world that see value in coming and you know, they get to speak with, you know, all the NAble executives like our CEO and all of our, you know, C-level. And then they also get to, you know, as Joe said, collaborate and partner with their peers because, you know, we're a vendor at the end of the day. Like, yes, we want to give quality educational content to our partners, but we learn from our partners and they learn from the other MSPs that are there too. So it's just this big circle of learning that I think that takes place within the 3 days of content that we're offering.
Yeah, fantastic. And I have the agenda up. If folks want to check that out, they can go to empower.nable.com/event/Berlin 2025. I'll pop a link right here, but just scrolling through, I see lots of interesting topics. There's one on mergers and acquisitions by a guy named
Davide.
Yeah. Okay. VP
Yeah.
of Sales Growth Strategy at NAble. I'm sure that's interesting to anybody that maybe wants to acquire an MSP or get acquired. I see one, MSP Growth Mastery, things I wish I would have done sooner in my MSP. There's Multiverse of Recovery on some disaster recovery as a service, Sales and Biz Dev Command, Cyber Defense Arena, and there was even an AI one. Where did that go? Navigating the Future of AI for MSPs. But perhaps we could you guys give us like a little preview maybe into some of the sessions you're going to be chatting about? Would that be all right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Stephanie?
Yeah, I'll go first. Because my big thing with Empower is dispelling the myth that it's not technology. Like, yes, NAble is a technology software company. We're a security company with security software and our Cove data protection software, and obviously our RMM software. But I'm constantly want to remind MSPs that if you're coming to Empower, you have salespeople, you have marketing people, and we are more than just tech. I've been in this tech industry, again, I said for 20 years, and I don't train on our technology, but I just talk about how MSPs can make money off of our technology. And so my tracks are really focused on, especially this year, on lead gen and new customer acquisition, because we have our new Horizons report coming out 2025 in a couple of weeks. And new customer acquisition and lead gen still continues to be the top business challenge for about a quarter of MSPs that we surveyed. So it's still very, very timely, very relevant. And so my tracks are really focused on how can MSPs build a better lead gen structure to win those, to fill the top of their pipeline and win those clients. And then how do you take those clients, those prospects, and kind of move them through the sales funnel? So I'm actually bringing in 4 MSPs that have been successful in the space. And I'm just going to be basically, we're all going to be in a big Q&A session for 2 days, really getting them to talk about, okay, well, what are your top sales challenges? Let's talk to the experts. Let's talk to the MSPs that have been there and done that and have grown their business to, 10, 15, 30, $35 million in sales. And this is, at least for my track, it's their opportunity to really get those insights on those guidances and those best practices. And the people that are on my panel are just willing to share. Like, again, it's this peer collaboration that is just amazing at our Empower event, where they can, ask questions and get really truthful, honest answers back, which I don't think you see at a lot of different conferences that are out there.
For sure. And it looks really actionable. I'm just control Fing through the page here, searching for sessions you'll be in, Stephanie. But I see one here, Sales and Biz Dev Bootcamp. It says in this immersive sessions, participants will learn about emerging threats and trends. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so that's my pre-day.
Okay.
So again, like, bring the sales and marketing people, because I have a 3-hour boot camp the day of. We call it the pre-day on the Monday. Empower actually starts on the Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I have my sales and marketing track, 4 tracks over 2 days. But on my pre-day, because we are, we're a security company, and there's still, Joe and I, and I know you've spoke with Lewis Pope, our head security nerd. It's still, I'm not going to say it's a green space for MSPs, but I think MSPs thinking themselves as security risk mitigators is still a new concept for a lot of MSPs. Like, I look at a lot of websites, and I go onto a website and it's a laundry list of all their services, or they talk about, hey, we're the best managed service provider and whatever. And it's like, non-technical business owner doesn't care about that, but what do they care about, right? They're cared about keeping their network safe, keeping their employees productive, and keeping the bad guys out of their network. And so security is still that growth opportunity for many MSPs. And so my pre-day bootcamp is really going to be focusing on, well, if you're if you're trying to make this transition into being a more security centric MSP, how do you do that? And so I'm bringing in an ethical hacker. I'm bringing in someone that specializes in cyber insurance, because you can use cyber insurance to help you sell. I'm bringing in 2 MSSPs who have built a really fantastic business focused on security. They are security centric MSPs. And we're going to be talking about what are MSPs missing. So I'm really excited for the ethical hacker who's going to be opening up my boot camp. Rob's going to be, Rob Shaplin, he's going to be talking about like what he sees and what are MSPs missing, so that you can have that knowledge of the current threat landscape and what is he seeing from his ethical hacking. And then moving into part 2 where, okay, well, based on what MSPs are missing, what do MSPs need to include as they're building out a good comprehensive cybersecurity program to take into the market? And so we'll be able to ask questions of our panel and say, okay, what are you seeing? What are you building? What are you delivering? How are you charging? And then getting into, well, how are we going to sell that? What are the top blockers that your customers are telling you, about why they're not interested? Like if you hear no, why are they telling you no? And how can we get that no to yes? So having kind of a good open conversation on what's stopping that deal from happening. And panel, what are your best practices to kind of get over that hump? How do you stop a deal from stalling? So it's a very exciting track that hopefully, at the end of my 3 hours, there's going to be some good actionable items, good takeaways that MSPs can start implementing into their business, like on, Monday when they get back in, to start, transitioning into that, being that more security centric MSP.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm guessing, what did you call it? A PreDay?
I think, yeah, that's what we're calling it, Joe, kind of the PreDay, because some MSPs, some of our partners will show up like on the Sunday in anticipation to attend the PreDay. And we have a lot of great content. I know Joe will talk about the certification track that's going alongside mine. So it's like, if you're bringing your technical people for Joe, bring your sales people for me, because it's all happening in the PreDay, and then it actually starts on the Tuesday, Wednesday, the actual Empower event.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say a PreDay sounds a bit like a pregame for a tailgate or something like that. But that definitely.
At least for mine, you're getting your sales and marketing pencils sharpened.
Cool. I want to take a moment just to give a shout out to Andrew dropping in, Richard Parker, Andrew Haynes saying, "Head nerd, what a fantastic title." I'd agree. Noah and Mordanon from somewhere in Australia. Noah wants a link to the Mousepad IT support group that I posted in the group. But today we're just chatting with Stephanie and Joe about this Empower session that's coming up, and trying to get a little bit of a preview of some of their sessions here. So if you folks work at an MSP, own an MSP, or want to found one, drop your questions, because these guys know what they're talking about. What else? Okay, Stephanie, that's a good preview, I think, of the sales one of many sales sessions. Joe, do you want to chat about what you're talking about? I see you have an AMA on Insight. What else?
Yeah, so the events I'll be doing during Empower proper, we'll call it post PreDay, I'll be going through our platform Insights roadmap with our clientele, and I'll have PM up there with me as well. So a nice little look into the future of where our Insights RMM platform is going to be moving. And then both me and Brian, our PM for Insight, have an AMA. And we didn't quite know how to name it, so we called it Ask Us Anything. But more so for us, what that is, and kind of going back to what Stephanie was talking about earlier, where we talk about collaboration at Empower, is part of that is always going to be clients asking, how can I use the Insight RMM to do X, Y, or Z? But in the years I've done this with Brian, the session always, after the first 20 or 30 minutes, evolves into the, what can Insight do for you better? And it becomes one of our best hours of brainstorming for stuff that's necessary within Insight that we may have looked at from a PM perspective, or we may have heard of from a PM perspective, but we hadn't had enough of like a business case put towards it, or enough of our partners sitting there and going, oh yeah, I'd use this in this fashion and this fashion, right? Or, my text would touch that day to day. So that AMA kind of morphs into whatever the folks who are attending would like it to be. But I very selfishly hope every year it turns into that brainstorming session, because it also gives me ammo throughout the year when Brian comes to me and goes, what should we be doing for the RMM? I can go, well, you remember Empower? Here's the 8 pages of notes we have from 40 minutes of talking. Let's just attack this, right?
Yeah.
So I always do like that session. The other session I'll be leading with one of the Incentral nerds, Paul Kelly, is a peer group on the utilization of AI in MSPs. And what me and Paul have put together is a very diverse panel, not just geographically. So we have one MSP from Canada. We have the UK, we've got South Africa, and we've got Australia all represented. So trying to get as geographically diverse as we can. We've also got a number of different ages and roles up there as well. So if we look at the gentleman who's coming from the UK, his MSP is incredibly operations heavy. To the point that one of his running jokes is we built our MSP on KPIs, or key performance indicators, and not in a negative fashion, like maybe some of us have dealt with KPIs in the past, but quite a good MSP. And he's very open. I don't know much about AI. I'm not the technical guy, but I'm the operations genius at my MSP. This is how I use AI. This is what my techs are coming to me and telling me these tools I use, right? Then we look at, say the gentleman from South Africa. There's not a technology out there he's not an expert in. It's disturbing, and you just want to hate him at some point because he's so smart, but he's such a nice guy. And we have him in the conversation to kind of counterbalance that operations gentleman, right?
Yeah.
Delve into the tech a little bit and how you're using it, and then operations MSP can pull you out. So I'm quite happy about that conversation, and I'm quite happy to see where that takes us, because I think a lot of MSPs know AI is out there. They know it could be a powerful tool, but they haven't really had anybody sit down and say like, okay, I need this type of AI, right? Be it some variation of, we'll lump them in using the marketing term. My apologies for the technical folk on the call. Some type of generative AI, right? Or am I using this specifically for data analytics, right? Where I can use a much more narrow, just pattern recognition AI, right? What are the flavors I can get into my organization? What's the control I'll have over them? And then what can they do for me? Like I can't wait for the day after building this Cloud Commander bootcamp where me and Stephanie literally create a data analytics towards sales and marketing, right? Bootcamp, because I think it's something MSPs truly need to start getting into. So very excited about that.
Yeah. This might be a good time. We have a question, and I'm guessing this might be the first, first Empower event with AI topics, if not maybe the second, if you were really early last year. But Marvin Lopez Rangel asked, okay, I run a small MSP. He said, my question is in regards to Amazon AI certifications. I'm kind of curious how those could benefit me and my team, and are they worth it? Perhaps, are there any other certifications you can recommend? So maybe some advice for somebody new getting into this merging of AI operations and MSPs, and any advice for Marvin?
So I'll first off admit I haven't done much research into the Amazon AI certs. I've worked with some some Amazon certifications in the past, and they tend to be okay for like that entry level, intermediate level style of certification, right? You're not going to get the AI equivalent of a CISSP out of Amazon. Just doesn't happen. But for getting your feet wet, for getting procedure and process and kind of a breadth of where you could add AI to your organization, I would assume Amazon is pretty darn good at it. I will say where I spent my certification time in the AI world was primarily focused around Copilot and its interactions with, we'll call the Power Platform. So think Power Automate, Power BI, and the like. Specifically because Power Automate as a automation tool or a workflow tool or a solutions tool also comes with Copilot built in and a workflow AI review, where you'll take your workflows or your solutions, allow Copilot to go through and review your SOPs or standard operating procedures or your processes, and it will provide information back on where you can pull efficiencies. Right? You could take it one step further to going in and putting in, say, your entire ticketing lifespan, pump in your KPI numbers that you're pulling, like ticket volume, mean time to first response, mean time to resolution, percentage of reopened tickets, and it will start pumping out, well, here's where I'd tweak this part of the process, or here's where I'd add a completely new part of the process to kind of help you delve in there. So I do think those Microsoft certs are pretty good to take a look at. If you're new to AI, to kind of toot one of mine and Stephanie co-workers' horns, there's a lady who works at NAble, Nicole Reinecke, and she has done more with AI than anybody I've ever met in my life. I thought I was smart, and then I talked to her and I learned very quickly that no, I'm not. But she has been working with AI for, I believe it's 15 years now.
Yeah.
She is, I think she mentioned she's 40 patents deep in the AI space, I believe. She has been working with major enterprise level companies down to small level companies, and you can find a number of resources from her. And in honesty, going through and finding stuff on YouTube, finding stuff on the web where I see her doing speaking events was my intro to learning in AI, just because I heard her speak at Empower last year and was blown away. And I just started to try and ingest everything she had out there. So that she was my starting point and one I'd recommend. She also has some wicked cool fiction books out there if you like reading sci-fi based on AI. I believe she was like number 8 on Amazon the other day.
Yeah.
So incredibly intelligent, incredibly technically savvy, and incredibly creative. Again, one of those people that leave some success for the rest of us on the
She's
table,
the whole
right?
package. She's absolutely the whole package, and
That's
like just
amazing.
lovely to boot on top of that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I dropped a link to Nicole Reinecke's LinkedIn. Yeah, definitely see a lot of those accolades you mentioned. 40 patents granted since 2021. Developed NAble's company-wide AI strategy, agentic, RAG, rig, and drift, ensuring ethical and customer-first practices. Amazon best-selling author, all these things. So I'm sure this would be a good person to follow if you're interested.
And she's
Marvin.
going to be at Empower Berlin. I think there's she's going to have
Fingers
her own
crossed she
section.
joins my panel.
Yeah, there you go.
She's going to be popular.
Yeah, and if I could just offer a bit of advice to Marvin too, I'm not so much on the MSP side. I of course interact with these folks and keep up to date on the industry, but I'm following AI very closely. I've taken a look just at Amazon's kind of sales page on some of the information they have about how AI agents work and different things. I think Marvin, if you could find kind of like Joe said, something that's foundational or tells the principles of like here's how an LLM works and like just those basics. Like I think today is the right time to even start building, because it's just so cheap. You can go and interact and buy like an API account through Anthropic, OpenAI. DeepSeek's very in the news right now, but you can pull those products in today. And I even see, NAble has a REST API, right? There's like developer.nable.com. So if you're using NAble today, you can already, have code manage your, interact with these endpoints and kind of build whatever you want, I think. Marvin has a follow-up here. Definitely following her. Thank you. I also look into Copilot and Microsoft certifications. Great information.
Yeah, we're actually... can we announce it, Joe, that we have a new head nerd joining us?
Well, you kind of just did, so might as well.
Well, I think Ben's starting next week, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Please tell us more.
We have a new head nerd who's joining our organization February 3rd. Will be day one. Please don't expect Ben is his name to be very active. He's still got to get his feet wet in NAble. He's got to get used to dealing with us as a head nerd team, and how do we interact not only in our own team, but more so how do we interact with our clients and our partners and the company and the community at wide. But we're quite excited to have him. He is a Microsoft MVP. So he will be taking a lot of the cloud stuff from me, which is nice. It'll let me focus back on operational efficiency and our platforms a little bit more. But I'm super excited for him to be joining us. And he will be out of the UK. But he came to us very highly recommended from Michael Weaver, who is our PM of Cloud Commander and a Microsoft MVP as well. So, I've heard nothing but great things. I've heard nothing but great feedback. So super excited to have Ben join the team.
Yeah, to have kind of that expanded knowledge within our little team here at NAble. So that makes us 8 now, I think, head nerds we're going to have once Ben joins us.
Yeah, Richard says whoop for a UK person. I'm guessing Richard's based in the UK. Perhaps we'll have Ben on one of these future sessions once he's settled into the NAble crew.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, and real quick before we move on, Richard did have a comment I wanted to bring up where he says it seems Microsoft and Copilot are dominating the market in relation to training. The non-Microsoft courses tend to be very basic. Yeah, and I think that's something that, Richard, I've seen as well. Microsoft is dominating this whole, if we want to lump it into a general term, business use of AI style market. For better or worse, I do think it's because Microsoft is one of the best platforms to start utilizing AI because of how pervasive they are through every organization, from the small mom and pop shop all the way up to the largest enterprise organization. You look at, say, my comfort level as an example with AI, I'd be using it for data analytics in regards to gaps within my sales and marketing process, gaps within client use of my platforms or tools, and Microsoft is very well built for it. So until we find somebody who can compete in some fashion with that, it's going to be really hard to gain some market share there.
Yeah, and just a follow-up comment from Richard. I'm the senior product manager for a UK Europe IT professional training based company, so we're always on the lookout for courses that people would like to take or do. I'll just add to that. Yeah, I think I'm really excited and hyped for the future of AI. I hope that it doesn't kill everybody, and that the dream of automating everything and hopefully making the economy go up happens. But it definitely, I think, creates a lot of opportunity for folks that want to go and teach, whether it be MSPs, insurance agencies, whoever, like how to utilize this new technology in their business. It's totally out there. Cool. What else? I wanted, let's see. I had another bullet point here about Incentral and Insight. For you, Joe, I heard that we were talking about certifications within these product areas. So what is that all about?
Yeah, so over the past 2 years now, we have been developing a certification route for Insight and Central, and then some of our other products as well. But Insight and Central being the primary guinea pigs, if you will, for a certification path. Back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean I've been with NAble 7 years, and I think I saw certifications for my first year only. We did have a good path, and it wasn't as popular, I guess, as we expected it to be. So that kind of got put to the wayside. But over the past like 3 years or so, certifications have been a big request from our partner base. So we've heard you folks loud and clear. So at Empower this year, we'll be doing the full platform certification path. Jason Murphy and Paul Kelly will be leading the Incentral one. Myself and Lewis Pope will be doing the Insight one. And what it will be is on the PreDay that Stephanie is also going to be speaking at, we'll have a 6-hour session where the first about 4 hours or so, 4.5 hours, are going to be like a review, cram, Q&A style session with breaks in there. We're not going to sit you down for 4.5 hours. That is cruel and unusual punishment. And then we'll have about 1.5 hours to take the tests for the certifications. For anybody who's used Insight or Incentral, 4 hours is not enough learning time. So what you'll see is starting March 27th through April 3rd, myself, Paul Kelly, and Jason will run 4 sessions where we go through with a bit of a deeper dive than what we can do at Empower, our training. Empower again then becomes the study session, the cram session, that kind of deal, and we have those certs. And the intention with this is within Insight or Incentral, we don't want these certifications to be a come to the cram session and you can pass. I've taken the test. I'm the head nerd of Insight. I got a 92. It's designed to be strenuous. It's designed to be exacting. So these pre-sessions, the 27th through the 3rd, March to April, are quite worth it, but intended to be where the bulk of the learning comes. And then, we have the Empower events where it's much more laid back, and then a little bit more like, try and stump me and Lewis up there on the stage, or Jason and Paul up there on the stage with your questioning. But super excited to have it. We did deployment for Insight last year and patch for Incentral last year. Had a wonderful turnout, had wonderful feedback. So now bringing in the entirety of the platforms is going to be quite a task and quite fun on day one.
Yeah, that sounds like a marathon cram sesh a little bit. Joe, for folks who aren't familiar with either of those product lines, Incentral or Insight, could you just give like a very brief overview on kind of difference and where those would fit into an MSP's line?
Yeah, so both of them are obviously remote monitoring and management platforms, RMMs. Insight is geared a bit more towards the smaller MSP, maybe not device count smaller, right? But what I mean by smaller is maybe at least less operationally mature, or a younger MSP that's looking for a platform that will provide adequate and good take control, remote background, chat, patch, and security tools without having all of the heavy lifting that comes with customization of the platform itself. So think of it as very plug and play, right? I myself was an MSP. I had 325 devices on Insight, and I was able to work as one man while being a PSM at NAble, right? It's lightweight, it's plug and play. N-central is the platform you're going to look at once you've hit upper intermediate operational maturity, and you're now looking for a more permanent RMM that is designed specifically around scalability, growability, and repeatability of tasks. A nice easy example to see the difference between the two is patch. In Insight, we patch by Microsoft classification or third-party vendor, right? That's it. Those are your options on how we control our patching. Inside N-central, you control not only those categories and third-party vendors, but you can also go by CVSS score, OS individual builds, much less major flavors of OS, workstation, server, laptop. You can get incredibly granular with how you're pushing your individual patches in that automated fashion, right? So one Insight plug and play in Central, I'm dealing with a much larger base, and now I'm looking for that scalability.
Yeah, fantastic. And back just a little bit to the certification chat for each of those. I'm guessing that's something folks will be able to take after the conference as well, right?
Yep. So I'm currently in the process of, on the Insight side, working with a gentleman by the name of Adrian Coward and Apo. You'll have to excuse me on Apo's last name. I butcher it every time. We don't want me saying it. But we're doing all of our sessions recorded right now. So each of us has about 2.5 to 3 hours. So you have me and my nice Southern accent, Adrian and his very smooth British accent, and Apo and his UK accent as well, going through it. On the N-central side, Jason Murphy, Paul Kelly, and a number of trainers are also looking at recording those. So our intention is to have it on demand, hopefully on demand for review and refresh right around the time Empower kicks off. But after Empower, those recording sessions with the individual segments tests associated with them on demand as necessary.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a quick comment from Noah Larson asking, hey, I'm looking at acquiring my first cert. I currently work as a help desk specialist for a smaller company with a handful of larger clients. I'll just give general advice. I guess good luck, but also, you might look into something like the CompTIA line of certs if you're looking for something more general, perhaps like A+, Security+, Network Plus are pretty popular. And then depending on where you go, I know AWS, Microsoft have a lot of certifications, within the cloud realm. But what else? Wesley commenting projects over certs. Yeah, definitely. I think if you're looking for a job, perhaps, and I think even for the NAble certs, there's MSPs using these products that you can make yourself more valuable or just learn the product more in depth, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Being able to kind of move around MSPs, if you're an engineer and you have experience in a certain RMM, it might give you that little bit of an edge, especially because, as MSPs, the larger ones tend to use N-central, so it might give you a leg up that way.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, we've covered a lot. Folks just joining us, we're talking about Empower Berlin NABle's event for MSPs happening April 7th, was it, to 9th? I think that's right, with a pre-day. I call it a pre-game. It looks like there's going to be lots of speakers. Of course, Stephanie and Joe here, who will be talking. Stephanie, more sales and marketing side, and Joe, that AMA on Insight and Central and some of the certifications. What else? Have I missed anything here? I know we talked about this exciting, the keynote speaker, right?
Yes. I haven't, we were supposed to announce it today, but I haven't seen it on LinkedIn, but I think we were given kind of the A-OK to announce our keynote.
posted literally 1 hour or an hour and 16 minutes ago. So
okay,
yes,
so it's gone out because I was looking at it this morning and I'm like, okay, we're going to be talking about this today. So
okay. Yeah, let's do that. I do want to interject really quickly. Yeah. Noah had another comment. We currently use Insight. I'm pretty familiar, nowhere near mastering it. So I was looking at Noah, your first comment here, thinking you just wanted something general, but it sounds like you're in the exact right place. If you want to reach out to these folks or keep up to date with NAble. Richard said, I've just shared the event inside our company. We have a German training center, so we'll make sure someone attends. Awesome. And I'm sure Stephanie or Joe here would be happy to answer any questions. But let's get back to this guy, Terrence Mowry. Maybe we could do a quick, I don't know. I want to know who Terrence is. I'm going to share my screen if that's all right.
Yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to hearing his keynote because he kind of brings in everything that we talked about today, like the AI, and he's for business leaders. His whole the different keynotes that he's doing is how to create forward-thinking business leaders. One of the best quotes, and I had it written down. We overestimate the risk of trying something new and underestimate the risk of standing still. When volatility is high, not taking a risk is a risk. And I love that because I talk about that in my sales training a lot. Like, as you're trying to do your negotiations in really any sales field, but, for MSPs, a lot of the times the blocker is, well, you know what, I think we're just going to stick with the status quo, and the status quo can kill your sales deal. And so being able to come up with strategies on how to get the business owner, get the business leader you got to think beyond the status quo and think of staying the way that you are is a risk to your business. I think is a really powerful message. So I'm really looking forward to hearing, kind of how he talks about, leveraging change and we're in a fast changing, ever changing landscape, environment, market, how you can usually leverage that as a business owner, as a tailwind to really drive your business forward. So I think he's going to be a hugely exciting keynote for our MSP business owners and the teams that are going to be attending Empower.
Yeah, and I'm just obviously clicking through, doing my due diligence on Terrence, but it looks like he knows what he's talking about more so than me. He has a book coming out called The Upside of Disruption, Path to Leading and Thriving at the Unknown. Maybe not specifically for MSPs, but I'm sure this is applicable to anybody trying to do great things.
It's anybody that's running a business, right? Yeah. And MSPs, they're run by a business owner. And, I talk about a lot that, businesses will grow to the size of the thinking of the owner. And so I think for MSPs, there's a large proportion of them. I think it's not as much, but I see it kind of not being evolving as much. But when you think about the origins of MSPs, it's usually technicians, engineers that started their business. And so their expertise, their wheelhouse is technology. They know technology really, really well, but maybe they're not sales, they're not marketing, they're not thought leaders, they're not really taking the time to really survey the threat landscape and really anticipating the change that could be coming. And then how do you take that change and incorporate it into your business to create a more thriving business? I think a lot of MSPs, especially the smaller ones, they get stuck working in the business and not necessarily on the business. That's something we've been saying for kind of 20 years. And I think it's still appropriate. And so I think listening to Terrence talk is going to be hugely beneficial to MSP business owners, especially if they come from that technical background and not necessarily the business first, business oriented type of background. And especially if you became that, that accidental entrepreneur and all of a sudden you're trying to grow your team. How do you grow your team in the best possible way? And I think being able to listen to someone who's led, very successful teams from advertising and marketing, and how he's morphed that into kind of a keynote and an author, I think would be hugely beneficial for any business of any size.
Yeah, and fantastic shout out on that quote, working on the business versus in the business. I don't know who coined it, but there's that book, right?
I don't know. I feel like I've been saying it for 20 years. That's why I've had a job for 20
yeah.
years at NAble.
I know it from the
We're gone, not in.
I know it from this book, but side plug for the eMyth
Probably,
Revisited.
yeah.
But of course, today we're talking about Empower Berlin happening April 7th to 9th. This is not for just NAble partners. Anybody can attend this thing. We've covered, I think, a lot today. If folks want to check it out, empower.nable.com. I'll drop a link here. What else? Where can folks reach out to Stephanie or Joe online and keep up with you guys?
Definitely on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to connect. Stephanie with an F, Hammond on LinkedIn. I'm there. Joe's on LinkedIn as well. So you can message us there. Probably email if you want to drop our email. It's just stephanie.hammond at nable.com and -able.com. If anybody has any questions on Empower and again, the agenda, though, we're pretty solid. I think the agenda is pretty much fleshed out now with our panelists and our guest speakers, and we just obviously announced our keynote today. So it's going to be really exciting. I always say our last Empower was our best Empower, but every year it's like, oh man, that was a good Empower, and the energy is just, it's contagious. So if you can make it, wherever you are in the world, we'd love to see you there. We'd love to host you.
Yeah, fantastic. Richard has already reached out on LinkedIn. I'd love to see it. All right.
Thank you.
If that's it, we'll close there. I hope you both have a wonderful afternoon, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about Empower soon.
Wonderful. Thanks, Stetson.
Okay. See you all.
Have a good afternoon. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.